Today we'll be talking about Malaysia. Malaysia is a beautiful country located in Southeast Asia. Let's dive in. Malaysia is known for its diverse culture and heritage. The population of Malaysia is made up of Malays, Chinese, Indians and many other ethnic groups. This cultural mix has created a unique and harmonious society, where Malaysians celebrate each other's festivals and traditions together. One of the most common things you'll find in Malaysia is street food. The country is famous for its cuisine, and most Malaysian dishes offer a variety of flavors and spices. Nasi lemak, char kway teow, and roti canai are just some of the foods you must try when you visit Malaysia. The country achieved independence on the 31st of August 1957. The independent Malaya united with the then British Crown colonies of North Borneo, Sarawak, and Singapore on the 16th of September 1963 to become Malaysia. In August 1965, Singapore was expelled from the Federation and became a separate independent country. Let's start with geography. Malaysia is made up of 13 states and 3 federal territories, with Kuala Lumpur as its capital city. The country is located on the Malay Peninsula and also includes the island of Borneo. One of the most famous natural landmarks in Malaysia is Mount Kinabalu, which is the highest peak in Southeast Asia. Malaysia is also home to stunning tropical islands, like Langkawi and Tioman, which have beautiful beaches and crystal clear waters perfect for swimming, snorkeling, and sunbathing. Now, let's talk about culture. Malaysia is a melting pot of different cultures and religions, including Malay, Chinese, Indian, and indigenous tribes. This diversity is reflected in the country's architecture, traditions, and cuisine. One of the most famous cultural festivals in Malaysia is Hari Raya Aidil Fitri, which celebrates the end of Ramadan and is marked by feasting, new clothes, and visiting friends and family. Another popular festival is Thaipusam, which is a Hindu celebration that involves piercing the body with sharp objects and carrying decorated structures over long distances as a form of penance. Speaking of food, Malaysia is a foodie's paradise. With its mix of cultures, there are so many different types of cuisine to try. Some of the most famous Malaysian dishes include nasi lemak, coconut rice with spicy sambal, satay, grilled meat skewers with peanut sauce, and laska, a spicy noodle soup. Malaysia is also known for its street food, with plenty of delicious snacks and treats like roti canai, kuih, and teh tarik. Natural scenery, plant and animal life. The characteristic vegetation of Malaysia is dense evergreen rainforest. Rainforest still covers more than 2/5 of the peninsula and some 2/3 of Sarawak and Sabah. Another fraction of the country is under swamp forest. Soil type, location, and elevation produce distinctive vegetation zones. Tidal swamp forest on the coast, freshwater and peat swamp forest on the ill-drained parts of the coastal plains, lowland rainforest on the well-drained parts of the coastal plains and foothills up to an elevation of about 2,000 feet, 600 meters, and submontane and montane forest, also called cloud forest, in higher areas. The highly leached and sandy soils of parts of central Sarawak and the coast support an open heath-like forest commonly called Keringas forest. Climate of Malaysia. Both peninsular and insular Malaysia lie in the same tropical latitudes and are affected by similar air streams. They have high temperatures and humidities, heavy rainfall, and a climatic year patterned around the northeast and southwest monsoons. The 4 seasons of the climatic year are the northeast monsoon, from November or December until March, the first intermonsoonal period, March to April or May, the southwest monsoon, May or June to September or early October, and the second intermonsoonal period, October to November. The onset and retreat of the 2 monsoons are not sharply defined. Agriculture, forestry, and fishing once formed the basis of the Malaysian economy, but between 1970 and the early 21st century their contribution to the country's gross domestic product, GDP, declined from roughly 1/3 to less than 1/10. Similarly, the proportion of the labor force engaged in agriculture decreased from about 1/2 to less than 1/8 over the same time span, and the trend has continued. The main food crop, rice, is grown on small farms. Despite the widespread advances brought about by the introduction of improved plant varieties and chemical fertilizer and pesticide, the so-called Green Revolution of the 1960s and 70s, rice production declined steadily during the second half of the 20th century. The main causes of this decline were unfavorable weather conditions and the loss of farm labor to urban manufacturing jobs. Increasingly deficient in rice production, the country has been forced to make up the shortfall with imports, chiefly from Thailand. Consequently, the government has taken measures to raise its self-sufficiency in rice, largely by implementing programs to consolidate small holdings and to increase labor productivity through group farming schemes. By 2000, production had begun to rise, despite the continued labor shortage. Rubber and palm oil are the dominant cash crops. Although the contribution of rubber to GDP has declined significantly since the mid-20th century, rubber production remains important and closely tied to domestic manufacturing. Palm oil plantations have proliferated since the 1970s, to some degree at the expense of rubber plantations. By the early 21st century, Malaysia had become one of the world's top producers of palm oil. Other common cash crops include cocoa, pepper, coffee, tea, various fruits, and coconuts. Resources in power. Malaysia is rich in mineral resources, and mining, including petroleum extraction, accounts for a significant portion of GDP, although it employs only a tiny fraction of the workforce. The major metallic ores are tin, bauxite, aluminum, copper, and iron. A host of minor ores found within the country include manganese, antimony, mercury, and gold. Tin is found largely in alluvial deposits along the western slopes of the main range in peninsular Malaysia, with smaller deposits on the east coast of the peninsula. Its production formed one of the pillars of the country's economic development in the mid-20th century. Malaysia's bauxite production is centered near Johor at the south end of the peninsula, while the country's copper comes from western Sabah. Finally, let's talk about some fun things to do in Malaysia. If you are a nature lover, there are plenty of activities you can do, like hiking in the jungle, visiting wildlife sanctuaries, or exploring caves. For history buffs, there are plenty of museums and historical sites to discover, like the Malacca Sultanate Palace Museum and the Formosa Fort. And for adrenaline junkies, there are thrilling activities like whitewater rafting, bungee jumping, and ziplining. In conclusion, Malaysia is a fascinating and beautiful country that has something for everyone. Whether you are interested in culture, food, nature, or adventure, Malaysia is definitely worth a visit. Thanks for watching this video, and we hope to see you in Malaysia soon.